Have you ever felt completely alone, even when surrounded by family? My name is Clara, and the day my husband died, I was the only one at his funeral. No hugs, no condolences, just empty seats and silence. But that was only the beginning. What I found afterward, hidden letters, secret keys, and a betrayal so close it cut like a knife, changed everything I thought I knew about my family and my life. You won't believe who was really after us, and what my husband left behind to protect me. Stay with me, because the truth is more dangerous than anyone could imagine. Now I need to know, what would you do if you were in my shoes? Would you forgive? Would you fight? Or would you walk away completely? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm reading every single one. And hey, if you think you can guess what happens next, write it down, because things are about to get even crazier. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because you definitely don't want to miss the next part. Trust me, it's going to blow your mind. You know that heavy, hollow feeling that hits your chest when something you never imagined actually happens? Yeah, I'm living it right now. My name's Clara Bennett, and today was supposed to be about honoring my husband, Mark. But as I walked into the small chapel tucked away in the outskirts of Charleston, I realized something gut-wrenching. Every seat around me was empty, except mine. I froze, staring at the polished wooden pews that reflected the dim light streaming through the stained glass. My chest tightened, my hands shaking as I held onto the program. The only sound, the soft echo of my own footsteps and the distant hum of the organ. A slow, uneven sigh escaped me. I mean, how could this be? Where were our friends, our family, our kids? Mark, he was always so punctual, so meticulous. The way he laughed at my terrible jokes, how he used to sneak chocolate from the pantry when I wasn't looking. I could almost hear him whispering, "Don't worry, love, I've got this." But now the empty seats screamed louder than any words could. My heart felt like it had been squeezed in a vice. Then my phone buzzed. I tried to steady my hands, glancing down. It was a message from Eli, our eldest. Just one word: busy, busy, busy on the day your father passes. My thumb hovered over the reply button, but I couldn't even bring myself to type. My other kid, Sophie, didn't even text, just left a voicemail that played over and over in my mind, her voice too casual, too detached. "Sorry, Mom, I couldn't make it. Call me later, okay? Call you later. The funeral is now, Sophie." Now. I sank into my seat, letting the cold wood press into my back, trying to hold it all together. I thought of Mark's hands, how they used to hold mine, how his laugh could fill an entire room, and now that warmth was gone. And so was everyone else. I couldn't stop the tears from sliding down my cheeks. A soft, pathetic sniffle escaped me, and I hated that I felt so alone in the room where Mark's life was being honored. The minister's voice cut through the silence, calm, measured, but distant. I could barely focus. Every word felt hollow, like it belonged to someone else's funeral, someone I didn't even know. I caught myself imagining Mark's eyes, so kind, so steady, looking at me from somewhere beyond, shaking his head at this absurd, lonely scene. As the ceremony dragged on, I noticed a little flicker of movement near the entrance. My heart jumped. Could it be someone who actually cared? But no, just the janitor quietly adjusting the flower arrangements. My chest tightened even more. A laugh bubbled up from nowhere, bitter, sharp. This is my life now, huh? Alone, ignored, grieving for a man who deserved more than empty seats. And then I felt it, a strange, icy spark of something I couldn't name, not anger, not sorrow, something else, something that whispered, this isn't the end. Something, coming, something has to change. I didn't know it then, but that whisper, that flicker of something burning under the grief, was the first step toward shaking my entire world upside down. Because what happened after I left that chapel was nothing I could have ever prepared for. You won't believe what I found waiting for me at home. I barely made it home before the weight of the day hit me like a freight train. The air in my house felt different, too still, almost suspicious. I dropped my purse by the door and wandered through the living room, tracing my fingers over the back of the couch where Mark used to sit. His side of the chair was empty, his sweater still draped over the arm. It smelled faintly of him, aftershave and home. A sigh escaped me. God, I missed him. I tried to shake off the loneliness, telling myself I'd find strength. But then I remembered something, the old study, Mark's sacred corner of the house. He kept everything there, letters, papers, and sometimes secrets. My stomach twisted. I didn't want to snoop, not really, but something told me I needed to know more. Maybe it was grief. Maybe it was instinct. I turned the doorknob and stepped inside. Books lined the shelves in perfect order, his notes scattered just slightly across the desk. My eyes landed on the old leather journal he always kept locked. And then, there it was, half hidden under the corner of the desk blotter, an envelope with my name written in Mark's bold, familiar handwriting. My fingers trembled as I picked it up. "Clara," it began, and I swallowed hard. The letter wasn't just a love note, it was a warning. Mark had known there would be problems with Eli and Sophie. He'd suspected their distance, their growing indifference. And more than that, he had plans that didn't include me feeling helpless after he was gone. My heart raced, a mix of awe and panic. Why hadn't he told me sooner? Why leave this for me to discover now? I sank into the chair, scanning every word, feeling tears prick at my eyes again. This man I had thought I knew, there were layers to him, secrets I had never imagined. And suddenly it hit me. What if these secrets weren't just about our family? What if they pointed to something bigger, something that could change everything I thought I knew about my life, my kids, even our friends? My phone buzzed again. I didn't answer. I couldn't, not yet. I needed to think, to breathe, to process the storm that was starting to form inside me. And that's when I noticed the small key taped under the desk, tiny, metallic, hidden as if waiting for me. My pulse jumped. What did it open? Why had Mark left it here like a breadcrumb trail in the middle of a forest? I slid it into my pocket, heart thudding. The house felt quieter now, almost too quiet, like it was holding its breath with me. I kept thinking of Eli and Sophie. How could they have grown so cold, so detached? And what part of Mark's secret had they already touched without me knowing? A sharp laugh escaped me, shaky and bitter. This was insane. My own children, my house, my husband's legacy, everything was twisting into something I couldn't predict. And then I noticed it. A faint envelope tucked behind the study curtain. No name, no mark, just a sense of urgency that made my blood run cold. I picked it up, my hands shaking, and unfolded it slowly. What I read made my knees buckle. My eyes widened. I whispered to the empty room, "No, it can't be." And in that moment I realized nothing in my life would ever feel normal again. But what was in that envelope? The truth was darker and more shocking than I could have imagined. I sat on the edge of my study chair, clutching the envelope like it was a lifeline. My hands were trembling, and my heart felt like it had gone rogue, hammering against my ribs. I unfolded the paper slowly, trying to make sense of the words scrawled in Mark's handwriting. And then I saw it. My stomach dropped like I'd stepped off a cliff. Eli and Sophie, they hadn't been busy. Not exactly. Mark had left detailed notes about money transfers, conversations, even a plan they'd tried to execute behind my back while he was alive. My children weren't just absent, they were scheming, trying to cut me out of decisions, to stake their claim on his legacy before I even knew what was happening. I laughed, or maybe it was a sob that twisted into laughter. "Seriously," I whispered, shaking my head. My own kids, my Barbies, turning into strangers in my own house. I could feel a bitter punch of disappointment and disbelief all at once. It wasn't just grief anymore, it was betrayal. And somehow Mark had known. Somehow he'd left me a trail to protect myself if I had the courage to follow it. The envelope also contained a map of sorts. Mark had hidden something important, something that had belonged to our family for generations. My pulse raced. Could this be some kind of inheritance or something bigger? My mind was spinning with possibilities, and I could almost hear Mark's voice teasing me from beyond. "Clara, you're stronger than you think." I had to act fast. I couldn't trust Eli or Sophie to make the right choices anymore. My hands fumbled for my coat as I shoved the letter and key into my pocket. I had a sinking feeling this was just the beginning. There was more to uncover, and if I hesitated, I might lose it forever. On my way to the basement, I couldn't shake the images from the funeral. The empty pews, the casual voicemail from Sophie, the busy text from Eli. My chest tightened, a mix of grief and anger boiling over. I slammed the basement door open and flicked on the light, revealing stacks of boxes and old furniture. Dust swirled in the dim glow, but there, tucked behind a large cabinet, was a small, nondescript wooden chest. The key in my pocket seemed to hum with anticipation as I slid it into the lock. My hands were shaking so badly I thought I might drop it. Click! The lock gave way and the lid creaked open. My eyes went wide. Inside was a collection of letters, photographs, and a small safe. My pulse raced. I picked up a photograph of Mark as a young man, smiling so brightly it made my heart ache. Behind it was a letter addressed to me, but marked urgent, read after my passing. My hands were sweating as I unfolded it. The words inside shook me to my core. Mark had anticipated betrayal, heartbreak, even danger. He had planned something to protect me and possibly to reveal truths about Eli and Sophie that I wasn't ready to hear. I sank to the floor, gripping the letter, a tear sliding down my cheek. I felt angry, betrayed, heartbroken, and strangely exhilarated. For the first time since the funeral, I felt alive, because I knew that the next steps I took would define the rest of my life. And then a sound from upstairs froze me. Footsteps, quiet, deliberate. Someone was in the house. My chest clenched. Could it be Eli, Sophie, or someone else? I pressed myself against the basement wall, breath shallow. Whoever it was, they didn't know I had the key, the envelope, the power to change everything. And that's when I realized what I was about to uncover could either destroy me or set me free. But I had no idea the first betrayal I was about to confront wasn't just about money. It was far worse. My heart pounded so hard I thought it would shatter my chest. The footsteps upstairs were deliberate, slow, deliberate, like someone testing the water before stepping in. I pressed myself tighter against the basement wall, clutching Mark's envelope and the key like they were lifelines. My breath came shallow, ragged, but I forced myself to stay calm. Whoever it was, they had no idea what I'd found. Then a familiar voice cut through the silence. "Mom." Eli, just one word, and it felt like a knife twisting. My stomach knotted. I hadn't heard him in months, not really. He sounded nervous, guilty, almost like he knew he'd been caught. My fingers tightened around the letter. I needed to confront him, but I had to do it on my terms. I walked upstairs slowly, trying to appear casual, my mind racing. There he was, standing in the living room, eyes darting around, hands in his pockets. He looked older than his 29 years, tired, hesitant, but still my son. "Mom, I cut him off before he could finish. "Busy," my voice was low, almost a whisper, but sharp. "Busy on the day your father died, busy leaving me alone." My eyes burned, and I could see the guilt flicker across his face. Eli flinched. I didn't, Mom, it's complicated." "Complicated?" I scoffed, bitter laughter slipping out. "Complicated? You texted one word and left me alone in a chapel full of empty seats, and now it's complicated." He opened his mouth, closed it again. My chest heaved, emotions spilling over, grief, anger, betrayal, love, all tangled up in one impossible knot. "You know," I said, stepping closer, "your father left me a letter, and this." I held up the envelope and key. He knew you were planning what? To cut me out, to take what was never yours. Tell me the truth, Eli, look me in the eyes." His face paled. "Mom, it's not what you think." But his voice faltered, and I could see the truth in the way his hands shook. My heart ached, but I refused to let it break me. "Then explain, now, because I'm done pretending I don't know." He swallowed hard and finally spilled it all. The missed visits, the secret accounts, the plan to fast-track parts of the inheritance. He admitted it with trembling lips, the shame in his eyes making my chest tighten even more. I wanted to scream, to cry, to hug him, to push him away, all at once. And then Sophie appeared, quiet, almost ghost-like, standing in the doorway. Her face was pale, her expression carefully controlled. "Mom, I didn't think you'd find out this soon." Her words made my blood run cold. She'd been complicit the entire time, and she didn't even have the decency to look ashamed. I took a shaky breath, trying to hold myself together. "So, this was it, you two against your own family, against me, against your father." The silence that followed was deafening. They couldn't argue with the evidence, with the letters, with Mark's careful planning. They had been caught. I felt a strange mixture of sorrow and relief. Sorrow for the betrayal, relief that the truth was out. My hands shook, my chest burned, but deep down a fire started to flicker. A fire of strength, a fire of freedom, because finally I knew where I stood. Finally I had the power to choose what came next. But just as I was about to set the rules, Sophie smirked, a chilling, almost amused look, and said something that made my blood run cold. "You really think this is over, Mom?" And right at that moment I realized it wasn't over, not even close. What Sophie said next would change everything I thought I knew about my family, and about Mark's secrets. The second Sophie said, "You really think this is over, Mom?" I knew she was enjoying every second of my panic. Her smirk made my blood boil, but I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction. No, not this time. I forced myself to take a deep, steadying breath, gripping the envelope and key that Mark had left behind. "No, it's not over," I said, my voice calm but low and firm. "And this time I'm in control." Eli shifted uncomfortably beside her. I could see the guilt written all over his face, his hands fidgeting, shoulders hunched. "Mom, there's more," he mumbled, almost whispering. And that's when it hit me, the safe. The one tucked away in the basement, the one I hadn't opened yet. My pulse surged. Mark had always been careful, always planning, and I was about to see exactly how careful. I marched downstairs, Sophie following behind, curiosity and something sharper in her eyes. I knelt by the safe, cold metal under my palms. My fingers trembled as I slid the key into the lock. Click, the lid gave way. Inside were papers, letters, and a thick folder marked in Mark's neat handwriting. Final will and trust, read carefully. My chest tightened. Could this finally be the answer, the last word, Mark's ultimate safeguard? I flipped it open slowly, heart hammering. Every page revealed his foresight. Instructions to protect the house, the savings, even small personal items I hadn't realized mattered until now. Then I froze. One clause stopped me cold. Clara, if Eli or Sophie demonstrate greed or manipulation, the estate shall bypass them entirely and go to Ethan. Ethan, my grandson, the one person in this family who had shown genuine love, respect, and understanding. My chest ached and a strange warmth spread through me, relief, awe, and a sudden fierce determination all at once. Mark had trusted me to make the choice he knew they couldn't handle. Sophie gasped, Eli's face drained of colour. They both realized the power I held in that moment. For the first time since Mark's death, I felt alive, fierce, untouchable. I wasn't just grieving anymore, I was reclaiming what was mine to protect. I looked at them, voice steady, cutting through the tension like a knife. This house, this money, it's not for you, not anymore. Mark trusted me to make the choice he knew you couldn't handle, and I am making it. Sophie's jaw dropped and Eli tried to speak, but I held up a hand, shutting them down. Mark gave me a choice, I said, holding the folder like a shield. A choice to protect what matters, and I choose what's right, not what's convenient, not what makes me feel guilty, what's right. I could feel the weight of betrayal lifting off my shoulders. The anger, the hurt, the grief, they were all fueling a fire deep inside me. I would protect Ethan, I would honor Mark, and finally I would honor myself. Just as I started closing the safe, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number made me freeze. You don't know everything yet. There's more Mark left behind, and it's dangerous. A shiver ran down my spine. Dangerous, Maury. My pulse raced, and I realized that whatever secrets Mark had left, they weren't just about money. They were about everything: family, trust, legacy, and maybe even my own safety. And I had no idea that the next discovery would shake the foundation of my life, and everything I thought I knew about my children, my husband, and my future. I stared at my phone, the message from an unknown number burning in my mind. Dangerous. What could Mark have left behind that was dangerous? My pulse raced. I had always known he was careful, meticulous, always thinking 10 steps ahead, but this was something else entirely. I grabbed the folder and went straight to the study, the room still filled with the scent of Mark's aftershave. The air felt thick, almost suffocating. I sat at his desk, flipping through the pages again. Every detail about the estate, the inheritance, the letters from Ethan, all of it. And then, buried beneath the usual paperwork, I found something I hadn't noticed before. A small folded sheet tucked between the documents, marked with the word urgent. My hands shook as I opened it. It wasn't just instructions, it was a warning. Mark had been aware of threats, financial, legal, even personal, that could harm our family. There were names, addresses, and cryptic notes about people he had once trusted, who might come back to take what was ours. I felt a chill run down my spine. Could this be the reason Eli and Sophie had been acting so strangely? Were they aware of this? Were they part of it? My stomach twisted, fear mingling with anger. I had been so focused on betrayal, I hadn't even considered danger, real danger, the kind that could hurt someone physically. Just then I heard a creak upstairs, my breath caught. Footsteps, slow, cautious. I froze, my heart pounded so hard I thought it might burst. Someone was moving around the house. My mind raced. Eli, Sophie, or someone else, someone Mark had warned me about. I grabbed the key from my pocket again and crept toward the basement door, my eyes scanning every shadow, every flicker of light. The house that had once felt safe now seemed like a maze of threats. I couldn't help the whimper that escaped me, fear and adrenaline mixed into a knot in my throat. I made it to the basement and checked the safe. Everything was still there, but I realized, if anyone got their hands on this, it wouldn't just be about money. It would be about control, about power over our lives, and I wouldn't let that happen. Then my phone buzzed again. Another message, this one chilling: stop digging or you'll regret it, some things should stay buried. I felt a surge of anger. Who were these people threatening me now, and how had Mark known? I sank to the floor, taking a shaky breath. Fear clawed at my chest, but beneath it determination sparked. Mark had prepared me for this. He had left me the tools, the key, the letters. And I had Ethan, someone who truly understood what family meant. I knew one thing for certain, I couldn't let anyone intimidate me. Not now, not after everything. But I also knew the next step could change everything. This secret wasn't just about the estate anymore, it was about safety, survival, and uncovering the truth that Mark had protected me from until the right moment. And then from somewhere upstairs I heard a whisper. My name, Clara, slow, deliberate, familiar but not from Eli or Sophie, someone else, someone who had been hiding in the shadows all along. I swallowed hard, heart racing. Whoever it was, they weren't here to talk. And the next move I made could either save me or destroy everything Mark had left behind. What happens next? You won't believe who was in my house and why Mark had been so careful all along. My heart was pounding so hard it felt like it might tear right out of my chest. That whisper, my name, lingered in the air, soft but deliberate, sending chills down my spine. Whoever was upstairs was Eli or Sophie. I knew their voices, their movements, and this was different. I grabbed the flashlight from the kitchen drawer, my fingers trembling. Every instinct screamed at me to run, to hide, but I couldn't. Not now. Not with Mark's letters, the key, and the safe's contents in my hands. I had to know who was in my house. Slowly I crept up the stairs, the wooden steps creaking under my weight. The whisper came again, clearer this time. Clara, it said, almost teasing, almost familiar. My chest tightened. The fear and adrenaline twisted into a strange mixture of dread and determination. Whoever this was, they were here for a reason, and I wasn't about to let them get what they wanted. I reached the top of the stairs and flicked the flashlight toward the hallway. Shadows danced along the walls, and then I saw movement. A figure slipping out of the corner room. I gasped, my voice caught in my throat. Who's there? Show yourself. The figure froze. Slowly a man stepped into the light, tall, lean, with eyes that held stories I couldn't yet comprehend. Clara, he said, his voice calm but tinged with urgency. I need to talk to you. It's about Mark. My mind raced. Who was this? A friend, an enemy, someone Mark had trusted or feared? I gripped the flashlight tighter, taking a cautious step forward. Talk fast, I don't have time for games, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. He nodded, swallowing hard. You don't know the half of it. Mark wasn't just protecting the estate. There were people, powerful people, who wanted what he had, and they didn't care about family or loyalty or love. He left clues for you because he knew they'd come after you next. I felt my stomach drop. My head spun. Powerful people, threats, danger that I hadn't imagined. All this time I had thought the only problem was my children, but now the real danger was bigger, deeper, and far more terrifying. You're saying my kids weren't the only problem, I whispered, my hands shaking. The man's nod confirmed the dread I had feared. They might not even know the full picture, he said. Mark had enemies, people who would stop at nothing to get what they wanted, and now you have to be careful. Everything you found, his letters, the key, the safe, it's why they'll come after you. A sharp laugh escaped me, bitter, shaky. So I'm alone again, just like at the funeral. But this time I wasn't just grieving, I was furious, determined. I wasn't going to be a victim anymore. I had Mark's guidance, I had Ethan, and now maybe someone to help me navigate this chaos. The man glanced at the safe behind me. Time, running out. You need to move fast if you want to protect what Mark left for you and for Ethan. My chest tightened. I realized the next steps I took wouldn't just define my family's future, they might define my survival. And whoever this man was, he held the key to the next part of the puzzle. I swallowed hard, gripping the letters tighter. Tell me everything, I said. I'm ready. But I had no idea. The truth he was about to reveal would change everything I thought I knew about Mark, my children, and the very foundation of my life. And it wasn't just about money or betrayal anymore. It was about survival. My hands shook as I gripped the letters tighter, trying to steady my racing thoughts. The man, he wouldn't give me his name yet, stood just a few feet away, calm but tense, like he was holding back a storm. My heart pounded as I waited, desperate to hear the truth. Clara, he said finally, Mark wasn't just careful with his estate, he was hiding something far more dangerous. There are people, powerful people, who wanted what he knew, and they were willing to hurt anyone to get it. Anyone. I felt my stomach twist. Hurt anyone? My mind immediately went to my kids. Were they in danger, or were they part of it? I swallowed hard, feeling fear and anger collide in my chest. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. Mark left clues for you because he knew they'd come for the estate. But more than that, he left you a way to protect yourself. That safe, the letters, the trust, they aren't just documents, they're tools. And now you have to use them wisely. I could feel my pulse racing, my hands trembling, my chest tight. All these months of grief, betrayal, and isolation had led me here. Alone, but not helpless. I glanced at the safe, the key, and Mark's final instructions. A sense of determination began to rise in me, fierce and fiery. I wasn't going to let anyone take what was mine. He continued, voice urgent now. There's something else. Mark discovered that someone inside your own circle was feeding information, someone you trusted, and it's not who you think. I froze, my mind whirled. Someone inside, could it be Eli, Sophie, or someone else entirely? My throat went dry as fear and disbelief twisted together. I had thought my biggest betrayal had been my children's greed, but now this was something darker, far darker. You need to protect Ethan, he said. He's the only one Mark knew would carry the legacy safely. And Clara, you're the only one who can keep him safe. Trust no one, not even people who seem loyal. A sharp, bitter laugh escaped me. Trust no one, after everything, even Mark. I shook my head, tears stinging my eyes. I've been alone this whole time, and now I have to fight for my own family against shadows I didn't even see. He nodded. Exactly, and the next move you make will decide everything. Protect the letters, protect the key, protect Ethan, because once they come there will be no turning back. My stomach knotted. I felt fear, dread, but also a strange surge of empowerment. For the first time since Mark's funeral, I wasn't just reacting, I was planning, strategizing, preparing. I would face this. I had to. And then, as if on cue, my phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. We're closer than you think. Step lightly, Clara, or it will cost everything. My breath caught. Closer. Who? How did they know about the safe, the letters, about Ethan? My pulse surged, my chest tightened, and a shiver ran down my spine. I realized something chilling. The danger Mark had prepared me for was already inside my house, waiting, watching. And I had no idea that the next move I made would bring the hidden enemy face to face, revealing secrets that would shock me to my core. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might burst. The warnings, the messages, the whispers, it all led to this moment. Whoever had been lurking in my house, sending those chilling texts, was no longer hidden. I just didn't know it yet. I gripped Mark's letters tightly in one hand, the key in the other, and crept toward the living room. The house felt alive with tension. Every creak of the floorboards, every whisper of the wind outside the windows made me jump. I could almost hear Mark's calm, steady voice guiding me. You're stronger than you think, Clara. And then I saw them. A shadow moved near the window. I froze. My pulse was deafening in my ears. Slowly I flicked on the flashlight. The beam fell on someone standing there, arms crossed, smirk tugging at their lips, and my stomach dropped. I knew that face. Sophie, I gasped, disbelief and fury colliding. She tilted her head, eyes glinting, a wicked little smile dancing across her face. Surprised to see me, she said almost mockingly. Thought you'd have figured it out by now. I felt anger rise like a tidal wave. Sophie, why? All of this, your betrayal, Eli, the lies, the schemes. Why? My voice shook, not just from fear but from raw, burning rage. Sophie laughed, a sharp, chilling sound that made my blood run cold. Because power runs in the family, Clara. And Mark, he didn't teach you everything, but I sure learned fast. You think you can protect everything he left behind, protect Ethan, you have no idea what you're up against. I took a shaky step forward, gripping the letters tighter. I'm done being afraid. I've survived your games, your lies, and I'm not letting you touch what matters. Not Ethan, not Mark's legacy, and not me. Her smirk faltered slightly, just enough for me to see a flash of doubt, but she recovered quickly. Bold words, Mom, really bold, but words won't save you when they come for you. When the people who really wanted Mark's secrets arrive, you'll see what real danger looks like. My pulse surged. The reality hit me. Sophie hadn't been acting alone. She had been the insider feeding information. But now, standing there, I realized something crucial. I had the advantage. I had Mark's instructions, the key, the safe, and most importantly, I had knowledge she didn't anticipate. You underestimated me, I said, my voice low, controlled. I know your plans, your schemes, your lies, and I know exactly what to do next. My hands shook, but my determination blazed hotter than fear. Sophie's eyes widened ever so slightly. You're serious, she whispered. I nodded, deadly serious, and it's about to get a lot harder for you than it's ever been for me. Her smirk vanished, and in that instant I realized this confrontation was just the beginning. The hidden enemy wasn't just inside my house anymore, it had been inside my family. And now, I was ready to take back everything Mark had left me. But just as I took a step closer, Sophie's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, her expression shifting. And that's when I knew there was someone else, someone bigger, someone far more dangerous than either of us had imagined. And I had no idea that the next revelation would change everything I thought I knew about Mark, my family, and the threats that had been hiding in plain sight. My heart was still hammering from the confrontation with Sophie, the chill of her words lingering in the air. But now I knew it wasn't just her. There was a bigger threat, one Mark had tried to protect me from all along, and I was finally ready to face it. The mysterious man from before appeared at my side, calm and resolute. "Clara, it's time. You need to see what Mark left hidden, the truth about who's after you and why. It's bigger than the estate, it's bigger than family betrayal. It's life or death." I swallowed hard, gripping the folder in one hand and the key in the other. "I'm ready," I said, though my chest was tight, my hands trembling. I wasn't just fighting for money anymore. I was fighting for safety, for Ethan, for my own peace. He led me to a hidden compartment behind Mark's old study bookcase, a space I'd never noticed before. Inside there were documents, encrypted files, and a journal in Mark's handwriting. My pulse raced as I opened it. Every page revealed secrets I could hardly believe. Mark had been involved in uncovering a massive financial conspiracy, one that involved people willing to hurt his family to cover their tracks. The estate, the letters, the safe, everything had been a carefully constructed shield to protect me and Ethan. Tears strung my eyes as I realized the magnitude of what he had done for us. He had anticipated betrayal, greed, and danger, and had given me the tools to survive it all. And now, for the first time, I felt a wave of gratitude and love that made my chest ache. Sophie's face went pale when I stepped back into the living room holding the journal. You don't know what you're doing," she hissed, her bravado cracking. I shook my head, feeling a fierce determination ignite inside me. "I know exactly what I'm doing. Mark trusted me, and I'm not letting you or anyone hurt Ethan or take what's rightfully ours." Her smirk vanished. Eli looked at me with a mixture of guilt and fear, and in that moment I realized something powerful. I was no longer the grieving widow, powerless and alone. I was Clara, Mark's partner in life, protector of our legacy, and guardian of the family's future. I called Ethan on speakerphone, hearing his excited, warm voice fill the room. "Grandma, did you find it? Did you?" "Yes, Ethan," I said, my voice shaking but strong. "Everything is safe, I've got it, and I'm keeping it for us." A sigh of relief washed over me. For the first time in months, the weight of grief, betrayal, and fear began to lift. I had faced my children's greed, uncovered hidden enemies, and protected the legacy Mark had entrusted to me. And now, standing in the sunlight streaming through the windows, I felt it, peace, power, and freedom. I had reclaimed my life, my home, and my identity. I had set boundaries, faced betrayal, survived danger, and finally I could breathe, truly breathe. Sophie and Eli didn't speak. They had lost, and I had won, not just because of the money or the estate, but because I had chosen myself, my grandson, and the life Mark had dreamed for us. I held the letters close, smiling softly, tears spilling down my cheeks. "This is it," I whispered, "the end of one chapter and the beginning of everything we deserve." And with that, I stepped into my new life, stronger, braver, and ready to write the story I had always been meant to live. Tell me something. Where are you listening from tonight? Drop it in the comments, because this space, we built it together. We've become a little family here, lifting each other up through stories like this. I'll be reading every single one, so come sit with us. And if you haven't yet, hit subscribe so you never miss a night with this family.